Hi, welcome to the show. This is Joycelyn Linton coming into the higher calling. And so I'm on blogtalkradio.com coming into the higher calling. And I'm also on WW Speaker, and that's a speaker with an R, SPREAKER.com / Joycelyn Linton's track, and tracks has apostrophe S on it. So today's date is the 24th day of the 4th month and the year 2017, and the time now is 10:41 a.m. British Standard Time. Okay, so I'm seeing the number 4 and the 4 corners. Generally, we're dealing with the odds in this occasion. And generally, when you see the number 4 in the Bible, it means there's a little bit of an issue, a little bit of a controversial, a little bit of an adversary coming in here. The number 3 is usually seems to be a sacred number or a holy number. But then when the number 4 comes in, there tends to be an edge. And in Revelation 7, the Lord, the writer there, John, and I'm just going to give a quick read here. Okay, I'm just thinking about the number 4 that's flashing up in my mind right now, and I just want to stay with the moment, capture that moment here. And in Revelation 7, it says here, and these things I saw, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servant of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad was sealed 12,000. And it goes on through the tribe, Jacob's sons' names, the different, each nominated tribe of the 12 descendants. So there is just something about the number 4. However, I want to continue the reading on the first book of Samuel, chapter 1, looking at Hannah. And I'm going to say, I'm using the word today, her dilemma with the Lord, because as I was saying over the past 2 weeks, I was saying that Elkanah, her husband, he had 2 wives. He had Peninnah and Hannah, and he showed a preference in Hannah in giving, when he gave each of the women worthy portions, he gave Hannah a worthy portion. However, there was a slight issue between the 2 wives, in that one was bearing children and the other, the Lord had shut up her womb. So there was the 2 issue was that one saw that the husband was given a worthy portion to his other wife, you see. And because the other wife had not produced children and the Lord had shut up her womb, she used that. She became an opportunist, and she used that situation to taunt her rivalry, to taunt Hannah, the other wife, you see. And so it sounds to me as though both women had some form of weakness that was going on, because Hannah took on the situation. Hannah, she did not focus on that her husband was giving her a worthy portion. She focused on the other woman and and I am saying that she had a covetous heart, because she saw that the other wife was bearing children to Elkanah, and she had not yet begun to bear children. So she had an envy, and she wanted something that she had not had already began to have in herself. So they both had weaknesses, and they both played on each other's weaknesses. They pried on the weakness, and to no avail of themselves, because Penah, it seems like she began to grow a tree of resentment to Hannah, and Hannah now, she must have had a little bit of bitterness in herself, because even the husband had to speak to her. Elkanah had to speak to her about the situation, you see. So there must have been some form of strife in the household. And in those days, it seems as though the tradition was that the man could have more than one wife. But today we live in a tradition where it's one wife, one husband. So I would assume that the wives would get along with one another if they're in the same household. I'm assuming they would be in the same household or in the same community at least. I mean, unless the husband has to be traveling miles. But this doesn't suggest that they're in different communities. It suggests that they're quite in a close niche. So they both kind of debilitated themselves. They both brought themselves down by picking on each other's weaknesses, and it caused Elkanah to have to speak to Hannah. And he said to Hannah, he says, "Am I not worthy to you more than 10 sons?" But he also put forward 3 other questions, and then his 4th question. Then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, "Hannah, why weepest thou? Why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons?" And so this is taken from the first book of Samuel, chapter 1, and I just read verse 8. And there you go, 8, 2 4s, 44. So I'm just laughing for another reason for this one here. So there's a controversy, a controversial issue, an opposing issue taking place between the 2 wives. And I would assume, as I said, that if this is the tradition that the man can have 2 wives, and that today we have one husband and one wife, and the rest is frowned upon. So generally the wives ought to be getting on, you see, and there should be some form of team playing, role playing going on, because there may be certain chores and tasks that has to be done within the household and the community, and each will have his role and her part to play. But in this issue, they focused, as I said, on each other's weakness, and they picked at each other, and probably all day long. And I'm going to say every hour of their moment, because it would be on their mind. Penah saw her husband giving Hannah a worthy portion, and it seems like he didn't hide it either. He openly showed Hannah, "Here's a worthy portion," and we don't know what that worthy portion is, but here's a worthy portion, and Penah, you take this, right? And maybe what he's saying to the 2 women is, "Okay, Penah, you're bearing children to me, so you're okay. You've got the children, but Hannah, you okay, you don't have the children, so I'm going to give you a worthy portion to make up." See? But yet it was not at peace with either women. You see, and I said last week that it sounds like there was a network, an adversary that was operating in their minds, that they could not find peace at the place that they were at with their husband. You see, they saw a weakness. They saw a negative point. Penna, she may have felt slightly at odds. She may have felt, well, something must be wrong with me, that he seems to be showing preference to Hannah. And Hannah said, well, okay, he may be giving me a worthy portion, but, the Lord has shut up my womb. And now she taunts me on it. She shows me all her children. You see, and I too should bear children. Yeah. So there's an emotional issue that seems to be eating away at either woman. There seems to be some unfulfillment in the area of emotion. And I can really take this in a direction but I was hoping to go in another direction, but I'm just going to touch on it a little bit, because now I've worked in the health service, and I've paid particular attention to women's health. I've looked at I've worked with breast cancer, in the treatment, the planning, the treatment, and even the liaison and the care of people with breast cancer. And also, I've studied the womb, which is the gynecology, yes. And I speak to an abundance of women over my years of practicing in the health service, and I listen very carefully, and I'm quite observant on the different issues, yeah. And I realize that this is so linked in to the emotions, okay, including fibroids that women can have. There are some women who just cannot explain, or the doctors cannot explain to them, why fibroids appear on their womb, or why the womb develops into these kind of muscular growths, which is known as fibroids. It's unexplainable. But the Lord has shown me it's because the women have an emotional issue. Yeah, and this is what's happened with Hannah and her rivalry, Peninnah. They have some form of emotional issue here, and they don't quite know how to resolve it. Yeah. So it becomes an outburst between them. And because Elkanah steps in verse 8, and he said to her, and Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? And was he saying it in a nice, gentle way? Hannah, why weepest thou? Or was he saying it, Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better than 10 sons? Did he speak to her in the heat of the moment of the two women quarreling among themselves? We leave it to the imagination of our hearts, according to where we are too. You see, it could have been quite a peaceful situation where Hannah remains peaceful in her prayers, loyal to her prayers, and no matter how much her rivalry is taunting her, she doesn't go that way. She doesn't begin to argue with the rivalry. She just allows it to happen and keeps her peace in the Lord, you see. Or maybe as the rivalry says one word to her, she doesn't quarrel with the rivalry, but she has to kind of respond in some kind of format just to appease the situation. It's left to our imagination what could have happened. And it's also left to the emotional outcry that we may have in ourselves at the time of listening to this story, you see. But something was taking place, whether it was an eruption of a volcano that took place, or whether it was the stillness of the water under the bridge. But it caused Elkanah to speak to his wife and pose 4 questions at her, you see. And the one that really comes to me, that causes me to stir, it says, am I better to thee than 10 sons? You see. And I'm hearing the word, he's now saying to her, 10. Yes. Am I better? Am I better than 10? And